I was going to talk about Elden Ring Nightreign in this video, and at the end of the video I will talk about the reveal trailer a bit, because that is what started it all, because I'm very excited. But as I thought about it, I realized that I was not just merely excited. No, something strange happened, and I realized that I was hyped. Just not something that's happened to me before, believe it or not. But I wasn't sure why. But of course I knew why I was excited. They were bringing back enemies from the Dark Souls trilogy. But even with past games, I never entered the frenzied manic state of hype before. I think I've gotten close with a couple games, but I've always been able to manage my expectations. Because of that, I've been able to enjoy games without setting a high bar for myself. If you set the bar low, generally the game will exceed that. Not always the case, but generally. Now, with Elden Ring Nightreign, I realized that since they're bringing back bosses from the Dark Souls trilogy, as well as the Firekeeper, I realized that I'd become hyped for it because I never thought there'd be another place for them in a game from software. And so when it happened, I got extremely excited. I got hyped. But the more I thought about it, the more that I realized my expectations were far too high. I kept thinking of things that they could do, things they could add that would make the game better, but also if they would need a lot of time to do so. And I realized that if I kept this up, if I kept into this feedback loop of being hyped, they could do this, keep doing the iterations and adding them together, I realized that the game was never going to live up to those expectations. And so, while I'm now still excited for Nightreign, I am no longer hyped for it as I was. I'm no longer in a frenzied manic state, because that would only bring disappointment. I don't want to be disappointed with the games I play. I want to look forward to them. I want to enjoy playing them. I don't want to ruin it for myself for expecting too much. It's not fair to the developers, it's not fair to myself either. And so, well, yes, I'm excited. I very much look forward to Nightreign and playing it a ton. I'm not going to expect every single boss from the Dark Souls trilogy to reappear. There are a few I'm very hopeful for, and I would hate to ruin the enjoyment of Nightreign because I expected too much. It's not what I want to do. So when a game comes out and you're excited and perhaps getting hyped for it, perhaps just take a step back. Get excited for sure. I'm not advocating to never be excited, but don't over-speculate, don't get too hyped for the game, because if everybody's ideas for what the game could be, usually are more than what the game can deliver. And so what I'm saying is, be excited for the games you're excited for, but don't over-speculate on them. When they come out, and it still interests you by the time you've saved up enough money to purchase it, play the game, explore, experience, and see if you're enjoying yourself, you're having fun. That is what games are for. I would hate that my overexcitement, my hype for Nightreign caused me to not enjoy the game. That would be very sad. And so I've reeled in my expectations, I've reeled in the hype so that I'm no longer manic. I'm merely very, very, very excited. And who knows, apparently there's supposed to be a DLC later this year. Perhaps that will add in much more of the things I'm hoping for. We can only hope. Normally the games I find are pleasant surprises, but I also don't get many games because I want to make sure I'm enjoying and getting my money's worth out of it. Or perhaps I just have high standards for what games I want to play, and if I do have high standards, so be it. It has saved me a lot of money, and that is worth it. So by tempering expectations, you'll get more out of new release games than hyping it out of proportion. Now, sometimes a game will come around and it will be worth the hype. But the exceptions prove the rule, or whatever the saying is. So go forth, get excited about the games, but don't let it become unmitigated hype, lest it swallow you whole, as it has so many others. Oh yes, I promised I would share my thoughts about Nightreign with you. Alright, so talking about the reveal trailer, I will pair images with it, and so all together we have... So the flames here are abyss colored. The Nightfare is riding like the Pursuer, who would be perfect for this game. There are no spiders in Elden Ring, so this means that Duke's dear Freya is coming back. Firekeeper is back. Lost Izalith has returned. The Nameless King is here. Oh no. And the gate to the Night Lord looks like the Erdtree gate, but also the Throne of Want. Look at all the abyss-colored shadows coming from the door. Manus, the Father of the Abyss, would be perfect for a Night Lord. Temper expectations. Temper expectations. But Manus and Pursuer though.